Welcome to Friday Night Pint here on West Ham Fan TV, talking about all the goings on with West Ham, including the rumoured FFP restrictions we might have to deal with in the transfer window to come. Might not have very much to nothing to spend this January transfer window. Obviously, we've got some injuries now to deal with as well, to contend with at the moment. And we've got a Burnley game to look forward to. They haven't won a home game all season, enter West Ham. So we'll be talking about all of that. And I'm joined here with Scott and Brian to talk about all the good stuff. Like, I just realised, no money, injuries, and, well, Burnley, we can spin that as a positive because we'll win that. Apart from that, yes, it's all looking a bit worrying coming out.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I'm holding on for the Christmas stuff as long as possible before we mention Christmas. I'm holding out. We'll say that. Actually, I've got something to show. Let me get this out the way while we're actually, as I mention it, because we've got some t-shirts. There we go. It's Black Friday, 25% off everything, all the merchandises. Got a new Kudos shirt there, as you can see. Christmas jumper, Champions of Europe Christmas jumper. There you go. Boom. So do check that out. Links in the description. Lovely, jubbly. Merry Christmas.
Nice.
And it's not like the fake Black Friday sales. Like so many with their fake Black Friday. Let's put the price up before the sale, and then we'll drop the price back to normal price and say it's a discount. It's bollocks. Never got any good bargains on Black Friday.
Yeah, me and Nikki were talking about that on the podcast, man. It's just the marketing scam around it is just immense. But a lot of people have gone early this year as well. Like organisations have gone early with the sales, and it's just getting competitive. But
yeah, it's all marketing. But listen, West Ham might have to find some bargains in the January transfer window if the reports are to be believed that we might have very little to spend. And this has been reported by Clarence Hugh and somewhat confirmed by ex-employee that things are going to be tight. And what's been said is we've not set a transfer budget for January, and we'll rely on selling fringe players to fund a striker purchase. So despite making 17 million profit on paper, we overspent in the summer of 2022 in anticipation of the sale of Declan Rice and COVID impact, resulting in us landing on an UEFA watch list for FFP. So UEFA permits football clubs to spend no more than 5 million euros, 3.9 million pound, over what they earn in each year assessment period. There is, however, a new limit of 30 million euros if the owners of the club or a related party can cover these losses. So if the owners want to put in 30 mil, we can do that. But otherwise, only 3.9 million. So it's very stringent UEFA, and that it's different to the Premier League. So clubs like, we'll talk a bit about Everton, have to deal with the FA and the Premier League, FFP. We've also got to deal with UEFA's FFP restrictions. It's a bit worrying. Some people are saying it's bullshit and it's just club spin, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Go on, it's it's an interesting one. So, like, on one hand, I'm not too surprised if you look at like the last two transfer windows, summer ones particularly, that we brought in a lot of like decent players. We had good windows and we spent heavy, particularly the season when we brought in Paquetá, and we were all thinking, wow, we spent 150 plus million then. Do you know what I mean? And it was something that was completely out of the blue and unexpected. And then roll on to the next transfer window, and we were still quite busy and active in there. So on one hand, I'm not surprised. On the other hand, I can kind of see what some people are saying as well, with it potentially being spin. I think with regards to this January transfer window, it's very tricky because of where we're at, particularly with like David Moyes and what his position is, with the fact that he's unlikely to probably probably see the season out. But in terms of being trusted with money in this transfer window, it could be a bit techie unless it's not his signings. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I can kind of see the angle of it potentially being spin. But what gets me annoyed with all this kind of stuff is when we have these kind of leaks and stuff, all it does really, it just puts us in a position where teams are going to sort of ramp up prices. If we look in the market at players based on names that have been bandied around for our team currently and historically, so the Broziers and the Solankis and those kind of Premier League players, for example, if we're going with pounds and shillings, we ain't getting them because the clubs will be like, you know what I mean, they'll just put the prices up. So that's the only thing from my point of view. I don't know if the club will trust Moyes with money, but also if we do have money, whether it would be used correctly. And I don't know, in terms of players coming and going, we probably beforehand felt that potentially a few players might leave in January. I'm not as sure as I thought that originally, but now I'm not as sure many will leave. I think one or two might leave. But I don't think we're going to see a big exodus as maybe some think.
I think you're right, mate. I don't think we will, because we've obviously got to be wary of the quota of homegrown players that we've got. When you look at the players that we're going to look to get rid of, you're probably talking Creswell, Ben Johnson, two that come under that homegrown category. And we're not going to generate a lot of funds from that. I think the problem is we know Sullivan's got history of coming out with statements, we've got no money to spend, and then we go and spend money. And I just think I think we got bitten a little bit in the summer transfer window because everyone knew we had the Declan Rice money, and everyone knew we had that riches. And net spend over the past 5 years, I'm sure, isn't massive compared to other football clubs. And I just think it's just them trying to make it look like, look, we haven't got a lot of money, so we can't play hardball when we want to get these players in. But like you said, mate, as well, are they going to trust Moyes? We're looking down the barrel. He's looking down the barrel of the end of his contract coming up. Unless we win the Europa League, I really can't see him getting a new contract. So you're then looking, whoever we sign in January has got to fit the plan going forward. And then you start looking into the things of, okay, well, if it's Stighton bringing the players in and not Moyes, then Moyes knows he's out the door. So what's to say as soon as Antonio and Bowen are fit, this new striker who we're getting in, who might be the main man in the new plan, might become unsettled because Moyes isn't going to play him. So we're sort of at that tricky crossroads now, whether we back Moyes to bring a Moyes player in, or we back Stighton to bring a Stighton player in and hope that Moyes uses that.
It's almost deja vu with the Sam Allardyce thing. Remember when it got to that, but he knew he was going, right? He was told he was going, and then the form just nosedived, right? Being like, easily in the top 10 stuff, to then sort of just, he knew he was going, everything, the wheels just completely fell off, and internal arguments and the form was just horrendous. It's almost, there's a smell of that could happening. I think Moyes, he'll do his utmost to if he does go and stuff, to go out on a high, to be like, I told you so. Do you know what I mean? This is like the best times ever. But we'll see. I mean, Dan, what do you think?
He's on mute. Dan, you're on mute, mate.
Sorry, I was just making Steve a mod. Steve is sorted. You're now a mod, mate. So, yeah, look, the way I look at it is I agree with what both of you said. I think until the window comes, I can't sit here and go, oh, it's a disgrace, because it might be all mind games and whatever, right? But I think it's true. Moyes, obviously, they haven't got a complete faith in him. Otherwise, they'd give him a contract, so his future is up in the air. But I look at Tim Stighton, who sees this as his project. Apparently that's what he said to Mavropanos. Mavropanos said, come join my project. So if he's going to be having a big say of picking the next manager, then surely he can be given the rein to go, right, bring in this striker, and then having an idea of the type of manager you want that striker is going to fit. Obviously, it's not ideal, but we need a striker in January. No two ways about it. I think the loan market is going to be very limited. So we are probably going to have to spend. So whether that's finding a gem or what, there's talks about Solanke, which we'll go into. I can't see Bournemouth selling to us while they're in a relegation battle. That is, they might as well relegate themselves if they sell him. So the way I see it is, obviously this shows the shortfall and the poor job we did in summer, which I said, like, I think I gave it like a 7-8 out of 10. And if we'd got a striker, it got 10. That was the big thing, is the striker situation. We've relied on Mikel Antonio for too long, just way too long. It's been, 2 seasons too many for him as the main man. And that's coming back to bite us. And the Ings signing looks worse and worse as time goes on. And now he's our main man. He's going to be the first choice. So, and that we're in a bad situation. We ain't going to sell him. So the way I see it is, it doesn't, whatever it takes. And I think Steidton is going to have his work cut out for him this January, but I think he'll start working now. Just bring someone in, and no excuses, because we're on bare bones with Bowen injured as well. Jeez.
But this is the thing, Danny Ings signing. I'm going to defend Danny Ings a little bit. He's not. He's getting so much criticism for his performances and all that. He hasn't been getting a lot of game time. He isn't a lone striker, and this is the thing. He's not. When we had Hernandez playing up front on his own, he's not a lone striker. The difference is Hernandez wins you free kicks. His ball retention and his touch was a lot better than Danny Ings. Danny Ings ain't that type of player. He needs a partner. We need to be looking to play two up top. If the rumours are true and Bowen's out and Antonio's out and we're going to start Ings, you've got to be looking to change the shape. You've got to have an Ings and a partner. Whether it's Mubama or whether you play a false sort of striker alongside him, like a Paquetá or a Fornell, somebody like that. You need to do something there that benefits.
He won't do it.
And this is the thing. This is the problem that. This is why Moyes gets the critics he gets, because he's a one-trick pony. And this is the problem. Instead, he's got an opportunity now to show, a bit like he did against Brentford. We went sort of two up top against Brentford, didn't we, with Bowen and Antonio? You can do that with Danny Ings. Just partner him with the right person and you'll get more out of him. I just think Ings was brought in case we got relegated. Ings was brought in that they thought Moyes is going to be out the door, and if we do go down, we've got a decent quality striker there who's going to get us out of the Championship. We should have forced the sale of Danny Ings in the summer if that was the point. Not let him stay on the money that he was on. Pay him whatever it is we had to pay him to get him out the door to be able to bring in another Moyes type striker. And the fact we didn't do that means that I don't feel they trust Moyes completely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I think Ings has been getting a lot of stick, which some of it being unfair, but at the same time, I can understand it. I think he's been put in a situation that doesn't suit him, and he's the one that's sort of coming out looking bad. You need legs around Ings. I reckon if you go through the squad finishing wise, he's probably still going to be in the top 2-3 finishers across the whole squad. But it's just the way we play. Just it's not suiting his style. And I agree with you. If you are going to start with him, then you need to play a high 10, someone who can sort of like support him with knockdowns and flick-ons and that kind of stuff. One question I was going to say though, with regards to Ings, it's like, would you be surprised if he doesn't start? Like I wouldn't be massively surprised if you don't see Ings or Obama starts and he goes with that kind of false 9 again with maybe a front three of Kudus, Paquetá and Ben Rama, and sort of like them interchanging kind of thing. Like Moyes lately has been doing things that are very un-Moyes like when it's come to team selection. He's caught us out a few times. If you think of the Arsenal game in the Cup, if you think of the game the other day where we thought because of the European break and Antonio missing that, we thought he'll be straight back in the team lineup, and then went with the same front three. So there's a side to me that feels that Ings would start, but there's also a side to me that wouldn't be massively surprised if he doesn't. Now, if that were to be the case and Ings doesn't start and Mubama don't start, there is then a situation where people are going to get annoyed because the likelihood will be Ings would be that first sub. And then that's not going to do anyone any good. With the people we have out, which I know we're going to touch on, it should only be right that those fringe players should be moving up the picking order in terms of Mubama and Cornet. Let's not forget Cornet as well, because it's almost like this actually could be a week actually where the Burnley old guards have come back to haunt them. Do you know what I mean? It's perfectly made up for it. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
I got to speak on Ings and what you said there, Brian. Because it just triggered something in my mind of, the general perception of Ings. And I know, of course, he's gotten stick, but he's not getting the same sort of stick that I used to see for Scamacca and from Haller in the terms. I mean, look at the Brentford game, right? 5 touches in 30 minutes. Now, that can't all be attributed to we just didn't play to his strengths, right? And Haller was criticised, called lazy, uninterested. So was Scamacca. I think and this is the people that called out those players. I know you weren't as vocal. You said similar things about Scamacca and Haller, but so this ain't aimed at you, Brian. But I think there's a bit of an unconscious bias there when it comes to English players versus foreign players, where Ings, it's just assumed that he's not lazy and he's not disinterested and we just don't play to his strengths, versus you get someone like an Haller or a Scamacca. They're not interested, lazy. Don't bother running for the ball. Don't put the effort in. You've got to put the same criticisms you're putting at these players towards Danny Ings, and I think it's somewhere. Of course, same with them. We didn't play to their strengths. Not play to Ings' strengths. But there's at some point where if you're Danny Ings, you've got to try and give more. I know he's not got the legs and the pace, but geez, mate, just try and press from the front a little bit, put a tackle in, try and win a header, something like.
But Dan, what you're saying there, like with the pressing, I know he's the highest paid player, but what you're saying there with Danny Ings is like, you want to see him press more. What's the point of him pressing by himself? If the players behind him ain't pressing, what's the point? He's just going to run around like a headless chicken. And then when he does get in a position where he can be effective, he's going to be knackered.
No, but what I'm saying is, I'm not just saying on the pressing, Scott. I'm just saying in all areas, to try more in all areas. You should be getting more than 5 touches in half hour, Scott. Come on.
Dan, I've seen Haaland playing for City and have 9 touches of the ball. 9 touches. I know, look, the guy's a different level to Danny Ings, and his movement is superb. But in a side like Manchester City, their striker gets 9 touches in 45 minutes.
I think you're both right, to be honest. There's been games where I've seen Danny Ings towards the beginning of the season almost trying too hard and then losing the ball or running into different channels or overthinking situations. And there have been games, like Dan's mentioned, whereby you're thinking, what are you doing? And it begs to differ. It makes me think, what's happening in training? Because when it comes to team selection or who's first sub and all that, or who's the alternative player, Danny Ings is always Moyes' go-to, and he's chosen him over Mubama every single time. I don't necessarily think I don't know what, he's obviously seeing something that's making him think, and then there's obviously the side about experience and stuff like that. But I think with the way how our midfield is set up and has been set up all season, it just, particularly if you're going to play James Ward-Prowse in that double pivot role, I think that's going to take away from anyone up top. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel if you play James Ward-Prowse further up, if you look at the first couple of games when we played with that 4-1 formation, it was just Alvarez there, right? And then what we saw in those first couple of games is Ward-Prowse was able to play those in the middle through balls over the top to Antonio on a couple of occasions, which then bared fruits. But since he's got reverted back into the double pivot, we've kind of lost that, and it's got a little bit scatty. And I feel the reason why Moyes probably reverted back to that double pivot formation was the mere fact that although we won those games where Alvarez was holding on his own, we were conceding a hell of a lot of shots. Yeah, so the goalie was he was saving us a lot. So I think he tried to do it to shore it up, but then it was then the kind of a situation where who you're going to put in that double pivot, and he's chosen Ward-Prowse, which has meant that everyone's playing out of position. You've got Souček as 10, Paquetá out wide, and then it's just all a bit clunky a little bit.
Yeah, that's it, mate. I think it is like you said. He's tried to make us a bit more resilient with the shot count, because I said this the other week, and people said, "Oh, we played well." When you go back and look at the win at Brighton and the win against Chelsea, if it's not for Areola, we get tanked. And that's the thing. And we have, even though we've lost, we're not in a good run of form, but we have sort of conceded less shots, less chances again. So it's worked in that stretch, but we're now not as formidable in front of goal as we were in them games. So we sort of like sacrifice one thing to do something else, but it's just not clicked in the right places. We don't look a quick counter-attacking side at the moment, and it's just frustrating from our point of view. And it doesn't seem, this new, like I said, with a double, it doesn't seem to fit Ward-Prowse.
No.
And I just think we've got to go back to somehow suiting our best ball players. You've got to suit the Paquetás, the Ward-Prowses. Alvarez will do that job all day long, whether he's with someone else or whether he's on his own. We've just got to try and find a way to suit what Ward-Prowse can do, suit what Paquetá can do, and then fit everyone else around them too. Because as much as Kudus is a great player, we need the Paquetás and we need the Ward-Prowses to give him the ball. And I just feel that maybe going back to that 4-1-4-1 system, it might give us that freedom then to use and use these players, the ball players that they are, and then add the attacking presence of your Kudus, your Antonios, your Bowens. Improve us that way. Yeah. And it's hard. It's really hard to work it out where it is. But I just feel that Ward-Prowse and Paquetá are the two main people in our team.
The thing is as well, like I think in order for it to work, really and truly, if you look at it as a team structure, we're trying to fit everyone in. We can arguably say that our midfield has been arguably our strongest area, but now for me it's the most problematic area. And if you want to base it on sort of team structure, it potentially means that one of those five has to miss out in order for it to fit into to place better. If you look at our squad as a whole, our squad's decent. When you look at it on paper, it's decent, but we do probably the two main areas where we're short and we don't have like for like cover. Well, one area is like a defensive midfielder. So another DM, we don't have someone that's like for like for Alvarez. We have someone on loan, but we don't have someone in the squad. Yeah, and even up top, whereby that's our main area that we need. We actually we've got players, but they're just none of them are doing it basically up top. But we do need a new striker who's going to lead the line and having like an alternative.
On a limited budget, Brian. If any, what would you do? Obviously, with FFP restrictions, if we have, if that's to be believed, it's not bullshit, but we're probably not going to have a shitload. So we ain't dropping no 50, 60 mil on a striker, right?
No.
What would your solution be, or what would you see us do in January, knowing that we need a striker to either raise funds or find someone that's either a bargain, or where would you be looking?
It's a really tricky one because I think other than tapping into the loan market, we're not going to have necessarily the money to attract the kind of players that will take us to the level that we want to be. If you look at it that way, then there's only two options really. You either go with potential, or you go with maybe seasoned pro that we have money to buy and attract those kind of players because their clubs need it. So if you look at maybe Iheanacho or someone of that kind of ilk, where you've got Leicester are in the Championship. So if you're waiving a certain amount of money, you're likely to tempt a player of that ilk. I'm not necessarily saying him, but you're more likely to do that. Whereas if you're waiving say like 20 mil, even 30 mil to someone like Solanke, they'll just laugh you out of town. The thing is with Solanke, where I think he would actually be, he would be a good fit. I wouldn't think, oh, that's amazing for our club. I would be happy with it, but I wouldn't be like, it ain't pulling up any trees for me. The thing is with Bournemouth, I feel they would sell if the price was right for them. And that price would be like ridiculous amount, and it's a price that we haven't got or would be willing to pay. But I think if someone came in with like a ridiculous offer for Solanke, I think everyone's got a price nowadays, regardless of where the team's at. And that's why with us, our structure is a bit messed, because if you look at Kudus, the reality with Kudus, he was brought in, wasn't he, as Paqueta's immediate replacement, with the view of him, Paqueta, going City. It was almost like a backup, but a Brucey bonus, that the fact that he didn't. So we've got both of them, but then we've got that sort of square pegs in round holes thing again, whereby where is Kudus's best position, and then keeping Bowen happy, or it's just all a bit, square pegs in round holes at the moment. But I would, you go with potential. You go with someone who is kind of seasoned, but then it's a stopgap, which is not necessarily the best planning. It's not the best future planning, is it?
It's a bit of a gamble. I think you need to make a bit of a gamble in January of, like, if you drop, say, a 30 mil on Solanke, even if they'd either sell it, for example, you drop that kind of money on a striker in January, you're gambling on the fact of, okay, this is going to take us over the line, whether it comes to getting Europe or winning a trophy or getting to the final, at least something like that. Like, if we get Solanke, we're buying him with the hope that that's going to take us there. Otherwise, you might as well just wait, because if you're dropping out money on Solanke and then we get to the summer and it's like, okay, well, we can't really afford to be signing another striker because we've got Ings who we can't shift. Got Antonio who's been given a new deal. We've got Solanke. Mubama apparently could sign a new deal, which has been reported. But so you've got all of these now. It's like, well, and Solanke is, say, a 9-goal a season striker for West Ham or something. Then we can't step on and kick on because of that. So it's a gamble. Whereas part of me would rather then, if that is the case, see if you can find a bargain in Europe. Or see if, I know I said the loan market's difficult, but if there is, explore that rather than slap that money down for a player that may get you a few extra goals between now and the end of the season. But I don't think Solanke is going to have that Jay Ling's impact. So that's why, as much as people, on paper, it would be great, but the price is not going to be right. I don't know what you think, Scott.
The thing is, mate, Solanke doesn't win the Europa League.
No.
Solanke doesn't progress this team any further than what the players that we've got at the minute, and that's the problem. He's a good stopgap for, if you signed him at this season and you were looking to have him playing back up or playing in part, not in partnership, but you're looking to rotate him, Antonio, Bowen in that forward, in leading the line. It works well, but it's not a progressive signing. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a progressive signing. And this is the problem that we've got. We've got players that are good players. We've got players that can do a job. We're now looking to push to be that next level. We're in the Europa League. We want to get through to the, potentially by the time we get to January, we could be in the quarterfinals, of that competition. We could be in the, I think, is it the semi-final or quarterfinal of the League Cup?
Yeah.
Does Solanke then mean you're going to go on and win these? Look, he might do, but I don't see that. I don't see it as a progressive signing. I just think it's a stopgap signing. It's one of those that, you're fine. But like you were saying, Dan, it's a lot of money to spend on a stopgap signing. And it's too much of it. It's too much of a risk. I'd rather keep the money and play the youngsters. Give them a go.
Yeah, we don't want to get into another Danny Ings situation, which is what that was last window, right? It's exactly what we dropped, 10, 15 mil on Danny Ings, got him a big wage. It was that, oh shit, we need to get another striker in. Let's just sign him, panic buy. And then, we're in this situation now. And if that could be the same for Solanke, it could be a panic buy. Shit, obvious striker available, splash down big money. Oh, well, now we're stuck with him. So you're right. Yeah, you could be a chopper. He ain't doing it, Scott, though, is he? Mubama's there.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think everyone's a little overhyped with Mubama. Right, he's a good player. Right, we've not seeing him in the under 23s and the under 18s. He's got the attributes there. I think physically, he's more ready for the Premier League than some of the other youngsters. You like your Marshalls and the other young striker. I can never remember his name, but he scored in the final last year. They've got the quality. They just don't look like they've got the physique yet. Whereas Mubama looks like he's got the physique. And I think Marshall and the other kid are better strikers than what Mubama is. Yeah, but I'm just thinking now, Moyes has gone at the end of the season. His contract runs out. What has he now got to lose to play someone like Mubama with Antonio and Bowen picking up the injuries? Danny Ings isn't firing. You've got your other two strikers who are injured. So why not give the youngster a go?
So here's a question. It's a great point, by the way, Scott. I agree with all of that. So playing devil's advocate here, yeah, with regards to Mubama, is Moyes protecting him or is he being stubborn? So if we assess it first, before you answer that, he's kept him in the first team squad and he's training, right? And yeah, a couple of times he's gone back down to the reserves to play and stuff. And he ain't pulling up trees by the way, but he's kept him in the first team. He clearly likes the guy. So with that being considered, do you think he's just protecting him and thinking he's not ready, knowing that if he plays certain games and it don't go well, things can change just like that in terms of people's opinions and views? Or is he just being stubborn?
I just think protecting him, and I can understand that, is you think, oh, if he don't score within, his first few appearances, what fans are like, oh, he's not good enough, he ain't scored a goal yet, but, in the actual real world benefit of playing him and him not scoring is, well, one, he can't do any worse than Danny Ings, which is why if he's overhyped or he's not good enough, doesn't wash with me, because how can he do worse than Danny Ings? And whether that's Danny Ings' fault or not, I don't care. It's not working. So there's no reason to keep playing a player that is offering nothing over this young player who would benefit from the experience playing against Premier League defenders each week. That will only benefit his development from getting that experience, rather than just playing him in the under 23s week in, week out, and him sitting on the bench and, watching us play. So I can't see, if you weigh that up and going, right, some fans, impatient fans, slating and writing off one of our youngsters because they're so impatient and expect him to just click and bang like that, versus experience and someone like Scott says, who has a bit more of an engine about him and can hold the line a bit better than Danny Ings, the scales tip in playing him, surely.
From a manager's point of view, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You either way you get it wrong. Either you're not protecting the player or you're overprotecting the player. But we've shot ourselves in the little foot. There was the comment there about the defeat at Olympiacos. I think the back and top of the game would have been a perfect opportunity if we hadn't lost to Olympiacos to start Mubama, to give him another go in the first team. And, like you said earlier, he's been around the squad. He's been there. Moyes has told him, no, I don't want you going out on loan. I want you to stay here because they're going to want to use you. And it shot us in the foot with the way we've gone through the League Cup. We haven't had kind draws where you can play a lot of youngsters. And as I said, that defeat to Olympiacos. But it's the substitutions that we make in games where you could bring him on a little sooner. You could give him more minutes. That's what makes you think that's more Moyes being stubborn than protecting the player. The 3-0 game against Arsenal, he could have brought him on for 15 minutes there.
Definitely.
And this is the thing. Well, look, we've all seen us give away 3-goal leads to teams like Arsenal before, so you sort of get why he didn't, but you've got that opportunity there. give the kid, show some confidence in the kid that you believe in his ability. The kid believes in his own ability because you're not a footballer unless you believe in your own ability.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need that manager just to give you that little bit extra, that little bit of more self-belief that you can then go and push on. And I think Moyes is holding him back. He just needs to let him go. Give him that nudge and go, you know what, lad, I trust you. Go do your thing. And just push him out the door and let him go and do it and see what he does. And I think us as fans, and like you said, Dan, with the ones that are overcritical of people, you've just got to sometimes sit back and go, there was a comment there about Moyes playing Rooney. Rooney was different levels.
Yeah.
Different levels of player. You know that. Michael Owen, different level of player. Sometimes you've got to give these kids a chance, but give them the opportunity. Let them mess up a bit. Declan Rice, look when he first come through, he messed up, got dropped, made him a stronger player.
You learn from your mistakes and your failings. That's how you learn. Yeah. You can't cut. You can't. There's never going to be this perfect time to bring him in and he just hits the ground running and it all goes smooth. Mm-hmm. It's never going to happen. And you wait and wait. Next thing you know, he's in his mid-20s and then he's going to, have to go out and drop down. And any manager that's deciding to pick players over fan opinion, because what we're talking about is, a few tweets, people on Twitter, right? And maybe one or two people on our fan cams and maybe some other YouTube channels going, why is he playing Mubama? Why is he playing Mubama? That's no reason not to play a kid. There's not going to be stadium full of fans go, chanting against Mubama. There's going to be pitchforks out if he plays Mubama and he don't score. So it's been really overly dramatized about this reaction. Oh, if he plays Mubama and he's shit, people are going to be on Moyes' back. Like if he can't, and I don't believe Moyes is that I don't think he thinks that way. And if he did, he's in the wrong line of work. If he does think that way, because I think that's pathetic. But I think truly he's just. Yeah, I don't think Moyes is sitting there going, oh, the fans are going to say this if I play him. And I think he's genuinely, it's just him. He's kind of risk averse and he likes experience. He sticks with what he knows rather than, and I think that's just Moyes. But like I said, if the alternative is Ings, fucking hell, what you got to lose, mate? Honestly, and Steve WHU Bell, like I said, the brand new mod. $4.99 chat. Thank you, Steve. That's the bribe for the mod in the bank. In all honesty, this would be an ideal game for Mubama, in my opinion. It's gonna be an interesting game for sure, and we're definitely going to get deep dive into that more as time comes up. But so, I mean, there's this. I'm a bit worried about FFP now after seeing the Everton thing. It's kind of put the frighteners on me a little bit. I know the UEFA FFP is different. I don't know what probably like if you break that, you get like a ban from Europe, which depending on how we do in the next few seasons, that might not be an issue. But yeah, like I'm seeing that as like, boy, I wouldn't want to be getting none of these deductions, and then you got Chelsea and City are on the chopping block, so. My mindset's a bit different. I'm not here going, where's the bloody money? I'm like, right, let's just see what we could do. And we don't usually go crazy in January, so part of me feels like spin. But I mean, yeah, FFP. I don't know about you guys. It's got me shitted up a little bit. I don't know if anyone feels sorry for Everton, but
Everton way overspent. And this goes back to when the COVID. Stuff happened, and you were allowed to spend more because of COVID. They overspent. It's not been they've done it for one season. They've done it for 3 or 4 seasons. This has been a long time coming. The only downside to them is they've been done a lot quicker than a couple of the big boys who should have been done, and that's why the big uproar around Everton. They knew what they were doing. They've got themselves into the situation. They've got to face the consequence of it. And if it's a point deduction, it's a point deduction. But the unfortunate thing for me is, for them, in my opinion, Man City have got away with it. Other clubs have got away with it. And it's like, we can't punish the big boys because the big boys have got big lawyers who are bigger than our lawyers. So let's punish Everton, who are in a bit of a 2-8 at the minute and probably can't afford to get a good legal team to sort of knock us back. And
surely they can afford a good league. We're talking like, you know what I mean? Surely they're not sitting there going to Citizens Advice Bureau.
They're not that skint, but they ain't got the lawyers that teams like Manchester City have got.
It's really interesting. I look at it. I do have some sympathy for Everton. When it comes to it, we're looking at £20 million. You know, a deficit of that is not a lot in today's money, and I don't feel City and Chelsea are gonna get away with it. This could even be almost setting a precedent. Like, you know what, we're coming in hard at this level. Yeah, you can appeal and all that sort of stuff, but there's still going to be some sort of sanction. And I think this is a big shake-up for everyone. And I think, as Dan said and has his feeling, I think there's a lot of board members are looking through their governance and thinking, you know what I mean? We need to get our ducks in the line and make sure we've got the best case. Because if you look at Everton, they've got their situation, but Man City are looking at 115 different penalty charges. So, you know, like, yeah, they might dodge a hell of a lot of that, but surely they're going to get clapped with something. It just depends what that something looks like. And, you know, Chelsea are the same. I think where it's different for Chelsea, they've sort of come and owned up to it, right? They've sort of said we admit to doing wrongdoings and stuff. So, you know, they've been a bit more forthcoming with it. So I do have sympathy with Everton. I think if they're just lucky that this season there's basically 3 teams that are worse off than them, so they could win at the weekend and they'll be out of the relegation zone. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, if anything, I think this will motivate Sean Dyche and Everton, because they've stumbled on a settled side. Now they've got what's his name, Calvin Phillips. Because now they got what's his name, Fitz. Up top. They can now. Yeah, that's it. They can now basically play with Decore as that 10 and Harrison. What a signing he's been for them, you know. So they now got a bit of width and they're just a solid 5. So they've stumbled on that now, and I think they'll be fine. But I do have some sympathy for them. But I can totally see where you're coming from, Dan, in terms of being a little bit nervous. And I think it would be interesting. We could even go the other way in January and actually not buy anyone. Imagine that.
That'd be a disaster.
That's it. Honestly, you can see it. You can see players going out the door, and we don't get anyone in. This is the very it plays into Sullivan's hands, doesn't it? I ain't got to spend no money. This is good. This is, you know, we've seen it before, and that wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, would not surprise me. Or we get some like cheeky little South American player who's really good on Champ Manager come in or something like that. You know, it's one of those again.
You know, I think with Steidten, I'd hope we've seen the last of those days. Do you know what I mean? I hope we're doing things a little bit better than if I hope Steidten's not betting up Jack Sullivan and going, who's good on Championship Manager this season. But do you know, I think I look at that FFP stuff and I just think it's anti-competitive FFP. I think it's just there and it keeps the same teams at the top, because you look at it, right? Arsenal's, Liverpool's, Chelsea's, Man United, all them teams, they're always going to be able to, you know, they're always going to turn a bigger profit, right? They're always going to make more money as just entities by, you know, ticket sales, merch sales, sponsorships that they can attract versus everyone else. So if you can't then come in and get an ambitious owner to really try and pump you up the league, how are you going to be able to close that gap? And that's the problem for me. So it keeps those teams up there. They're always then going to be able to spend way more than any other teams. And now they're bringing it in. Obviously, Chelsea won the lottery years ago and have, you know, pulled the drawbridge up. So they got to the point where they was winning Champions League, winning leagues, and built themselves into a massive brand like Man City have as well. So now their clubs are going to obviously be able to build more revenue. So now for the rest of us who dreamed of having that sort of situation where we'd get ambitious owners that then could really invest and build us up, that's killed by FFP now. So yeah, I don't really disagree. It's supposed to be there to protect clubs from overspending, and those owners that just, maybe do like keep your eye on spend beyond the club's means and then lead them into ruin. But in reality, it stops teams being competitive against the top clubs.
And that's it. It's always favoured the top clubs. Look, you look at City. City want money. They just go and get a new sponsorship deal from the same sponsor. Because the owners own the sponsor. So they've got ways to get around it, the ways that they can, if they want unlimited funds, they can get unlimited funds, because they'll just keep signing sponsorship deals, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Same as PSG. PSG are the same. They want money, they'll go and get money. And you are right, FFP is there to protect the little guys from overspending, but there's no, you're always going to have that gap now. You're always going to have. You look at it, all this FFP stuff's kicked off since Newcastle took over. Yeah. Since Newcastle's now got that ability to go and buy anyone if we really want to. Ever since then, now it's sort of kicked off. It was all right, Chelsea to do it. Chelsea is still doing it. They've found a loophole that no other club for some reason didn't find or doesn't want to use. So Chelsea's still getting away with it. City are doing it. You can't really say Arsenal, because Arsenal didn't really spend big over the past 4 or 5 seasons previous to the last 2. They've only just started to throw their hand into the ring with the big signings. Probably Manchester United got away with it for a long period of time, but now someone like Newcastle can do it with their new owners, and then they're thinking, well, potentially you've got the likes of West Ham, Tottenham, clubs that have got this big core fan base selling out stadiums week after week of higher capacities now, are more attractable to foreign investment. Well, we don't want it messing up the apple cart. We want our Man Cities, our Man Uniteds, our Chelseas to still be up there and competing. So now we've got to try and level the playing field and stop these teams climbing that ladder. And that's what it feels like to me, because it's just, boom, all of a sudden Newcastle get took over, everything's pushing FFP.
Yeah, can't argue that at all. Very true, very true.
Yeah, it is frustrating, but, like I said, we just need to, as long as we don't end up in like Everton, because they're a really terribly run club. They really are a terribly run club. And we've been a poorly run club, but it puts it into perspective. It really does. And
the thing is, we've been a poorly run club by business people who don't want to get into that situation.
Yeah, we've been at times an unambitious club. But the one thing you got to give the Devils their due is when it comes to the money side of things, in terms of building the club's value and sort of sustainability type of thing. That's been their focus. Whereas, us as football fans, we want the focus to be on the football side of things and progressing us. And they have them spurts where we go mad this summer, that summer. But obviously we've sold Declan Rice. So you've got to mitigate that. But it's a weird one. I'll never warm to Sullivan. I'll never like him or anything. But you look at other clubs.
That's how you got to look at it. It's never going under a Sullivan and Brady, because neither of them want that on their resume.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It puts it into perspective, doesn't it? When you look at Everton, though, and how they are and how they've been. Listen, Everton have been how they've been now for the last 5 years. They've been escaping relegation. They've been down there. They've been doing just enough to get through. And it kind of, they're a big club. I look at Everton and I look at us, and if you look at history and stuff, like it's kind of balanced out in terms of being sort of like the same milk and stuff. But yeah, it can
I hate it because we sound like bored apologists a bit. I hate it, but it's a fact of like, if we would have spent like Everton, right, we would have all loved that. Like, oh yeah, bringing in James Rodriguez and all of this, and signing all these players, Walcott, and showing their levels of ambition. But their turnover of managers, the way that they've jumped from fucking different type of project to different type of project, and how knee-jerk they are. Of course, with our owners, we call for managers out, but it shows you Everton are a bit too knee-jerk with throwing managers out and then jump into different types of managers. we would have all at the time and Everton fans were loving it at the time, and it's only in hindsight now you look back and go, yeah, shit, that was a mistake. So it's not just down to money spent, but that's why and it's I keep saying Stites. It could have been anyone, not Tim Stites in particularly, but just having that role and starting to build Noble as well is football personnel in charge of the football aspects of the club. This is what we were missing for years and years. It didn't matter how much we spent or how little we spent. We still had Sullivan, in charge of transfers. And that was the biggest issue. Doesn't come down to we should have spent 200 mil a season or 150 a season, whatever. It comes down to who was in charge of the football side of things. Now I feel better because we have Noble and Steidten, and even the manager, love him or hate Moyes, whatever. Since he's come in his second stint, has been more involved in transfers than previous managers. And he came out and said that he wants to have a say. And differing Dave, sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. But take it off Sullivan's hands. He don't know what he's doing. He may get a Lanzini once in a blue moon, but that was luck. So yeah, that's my big. So why I say Steidten is I'm happy someone's there to do that role. That's the thing. But yeah, I mean,
forward thinking, Dan. That's the thing. It's a forward planning. Steidten seems that we've looked further forward than a 2-year plan. I think with Steidten, we're looking now at a 5-year type plan, and that seems we're building it the right way. Like you said, getting football people involved behind the scenes and not just leaving it down to the business people.
Yeah, and you have that more because what you want is someone like that Steidten, for example, and this as a good well-run club is you have that vision that you say, look, doesn't matter who the manager is, this is the vision for how West Ham are going to play. So when we change managers, you're going to have you're not starting from scratch because you have a philosophy of, okay, this is the type of football we play. This is the type of manager that fits what the players that we have and how we want to play. And you're not going to, obviously there's always going to be that little bit of, restart from scratch, but it's not like going from a Pellegrini to a Moyes type of thing. Do you know what I mean? And just that complete difference. And the same what with Everton, the different types of managers they jumped through time and time again. But if you've got one person that has that consistency, in place, that's how you end up progressing better and not having to keep starting from scratch every time a manager don't work out. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. But it all starts. Well, go on, mate.
No, you summed it up with, like you said, a vision. If you've got a vision, you've got a vision. It's like running a business. You have a vision where you want your business to be in 5 years' time, and then you put a strategy in place to make it successful in that 5-year period. This is now what we're seeing West Ham doing. They've got a vision. Steidten's the man who's strategizing. He's making this vision come to life. So the board are happy because things are going well in the business sense. The football club's doing well. We've got a trophy. The football club's now all of a sudden on the map in European football because we've got a recent European trophy. So it's following the vision and having the plan laid out, what we want to do and where we want to go. And that's what I think we're slowly seeing. And that's why I think the next manager will be key because we will see where that vision is going to lead us.
Yeah. It's only taken bloody 10 years to do it, by the way. A lot of us been calling for this for the past 10 years. Get someone who plays who knows football, have a vision, have a plan. We've said this year after year. We've finally got it. Like you said, that next manager, not to put Moyes out the door yet, but like I said, these days, it feels like it. There's, it's an end of one period going into another. That is going to be huge and very interesting and very exciting and very scary at the same time. But it all starts with Burnley because we do not dare lose this game. We do not dare lose this flipping game. They have lost every single game they have played at home all season. I'm not hearing any enter West Ham bullshit. Right, we go there. I'm not even satisfied with a point. And yes, it sounds like I'm disrespecting Burnley or whatever. Listen, anyone can beat anyone on any given day in football. Let's just throw all them cliches at us. Let's say all of that. Respect to Burnley. Oh, they got good players, whatever, right? I don't care. This game, we dropped points. We lost to Everton, right? We are not going to be that team that gives Burnley their first result at home. I'm not accepting. I don't care who's injured or who's in the side. No excuses. I don't want anyone hyping it. I don't care if they've got the ref on their side, whatever. We don't need the ref. Stick more goals in the back of the net than they stick in ours. Get the result, and we kick on from there. And then Palace, because we've dropped points in the games where we was hoping to pick up on. This is the point for us to, if we lose here or we draw here, even I'd say lose. You can forget about Europe. You can forget about it because we might as well be looking over our shoulder if we don't win this, because that's worrying. But if we win and then we beat Palace, we're looking good and we're still in the mix.
Look, if we win, it keeps us in the mix. We start putting pressure on the top 7, chasing down teams like Brighton and that. If we look at history, man, like West Ham can sometimes be the team that keeps on giving. When it comes to the first of this, people having these like little runs, whether it's an individual going with a goal drought and then they haven't scored an X amount of games, or a team like Burnley haven't won at home all season, and then West Ham rock up, and then like we just happen to be the gift that keeps on giving. But look, Burnley's a tough place to go to anyway, historically for us, and I think look, their fortunes are going to change at some point, because as bad as their results have been, I don't necessarily feel their performances have been bad. I think Company's been a bit naive in the way he set them up in terms of trying to adapt to the same style of play that he was doing when they got promoted as champions from the Championship. But I think they'll be looking at this game as one that they can get something from. They'll start looking at the pieces, they'll start looking at West Ham's form of late and how that's that, we've conceded 10 goals in our last 3 games and we've got beat down in our last 3 away games. They'll be looking at all of those kind of little key things and thinking to themselves, this is a game we should be earmarking as getting something from. I think our confidence has just basically come from the fact that Burnley are bottom, but we're forgetting how sometimes we apply that little soft belly sort of thing and allow teams to come on to us. They're not gonna be sitting back. They're gonna be going for it for this game, and I think it will be a blood and thunder game. I don't think we'll lose, but my head is telling me this is going to be a score draw, and I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But this is a game. I'm in the complete opposite. I'm not massively confident. Because we've been there so many times. I'm like, yeah, that's a gimme. And then we go. Even if you look at the 2 games in a row, yeah, like Burnley and Palace, on paper looks good. But let's look. How many times have we dealt with Palace over the last flipping 4 years? They're that annoying team that we're much better than on paper, and then for some reason they just sometimes got the sign over us. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a thing whereby.
But Brian, would you take a point though? That's what I want. Would you take a point? Did you play golf in Ilford?
No, listen. Of course not. There's no way I'll take a point. If we get a point or we lose, I'll be going crazy as well. Yeah, but the skeptic in me is thinking, you know what? I've seen it happen before, so I'm not as confident that we're gonna like steamroll them. Do you know what I mean? I'll take a 1-0 all day long, 3 points all day long. But here we go.
Did you play golf in Ilford though? No.
Sorry, I was ranting, man. Wasn't even reading Andrew's comments. Sorry, Andrew. No, it wasn't me, man.
The potential of a draw against Burnley. I hear what you're saying, like, but to me, it whatever team is out there, right? That team should be capable with the money that we've spent versus the money that they've spent. No excuses. I know, Scott, you're about to come out. I know what you're going to come out with some excuses. Some football cliches.
No, it's exactly what Brian said. It is, we are the gift that keeps on giving. Christmas comes early when West Ham rolls into town. This is the thing. The reason why I think this is going to be different is Burnley will try and play. And I think they'll come unstuck because the one thing that we can do is we can sit back and we can catch people on the break. And if Antonio is out, it's all on. If Kudus and Bowen are available and fit, we win this game. If we haven't got them two and Antonio, we're not winning this game. That's how I look at it. So long as Kudus and Bowen are there, because it looks like Antonio is going to be out for probably about 4 weeks, we will catch them cold and we will go and win this game, because I just think they're going to overplay. They'll make mistakes, and we can sit there. We've soaked up the pressure against some of the best teams in this league. Burnley will try and play. They'll try and pull us around. We can sit back. We can catch them on the counter, and I think that's what we'll do. I think that's what we'll do, and I think we're going to win this one comfortably. I really do. I don't think. We all know I'm never predict West Ham to lose and all that, but I feel Burnley and company will play into our hands and we'll go on and win this game. I'm loving
the confidence. This is what I want. I want to be proven wrong, and I want us to come away with a result, of course.
Will you really lose your shit? Because Nick wants to know if you've ever lost your shit. You seem so calm.
Listen, man. I lost it earlier on. Man. So I'm calm 8 times out of 10. But then I lose it as well, man. So yeah, Clarence, I lost it earlier on today. If you saw me about 5 hours ago, man, the day wasn't.
But it wasn't West Ham related. It wasn't West Ham.
It wasn't. Nah.
Listen, tomorrow, I tell you what, if we lost that, and let's think, even if we didn't have Bowen, and I think this is a bit of a poor thing from what is that he hasn't played Cornet more, give Cornet more minutes off the bench and things like that, because with his pace, there are games like this. Is if you haven't got an Antonio and you haven't got a Bowen, you can play a Cornet, and his pace is going to be massively beneficial. But I think he's still going to be somewhat rusty for us to ask to start him at this point. But they've obviously got a leaky defense, and if, like I said, they ain't going to change. We struggle to break teams down. That's one of the biggest things we struggle with. So if they're not going to sit back at home and invite us on and trust us to break us down and put every man behind the ball, we should have joy, because, like you said earlier, scoring goals is not a problem. It's not been a problem. It's only, I think, the Everton game we haven't scored. So, it's our defending that's the issue. Yeah. But we should be able to outscore them at the end of the day. And we got international players. We've got a very expensive team. We've got a team that's playing in Europe and competing. They haven't really been heavily invested in. The players have to have the ambition. They can't just turn up and feel like we'll roll them over. And the manager has to make sure that you do remind the players that, motivate them, but also put out a team that is not going to just go there a little bit timid and fearful and sit there and go, do you know what? No, we are better than Burnley. We are better than them. We can go at them and outscore them. So he's got to have that confidence in our players, Well,
the thing is, it's like Jack. Let me find it. Jack said there, where is it? Look at Souček. For the Czech Republic, 2-2. They've qualified for the Euros. He's in a bit of form now. He's a danger. Set pieces were always going to be a danger. The player we've got to keep an eye on for Burnley is Cullen. He's coming back to West Ham. He's got a massive, well, not coming back to the club, but you know what I mean. He's playing against his old club, a club that the manager that didn't think he was good enough. So he's going to have a point to prove. So he's going to want to, put a shift in. But as we've all said, we've all touched on, we have got the quality there. The Paquetás, even with Souček, his aerial presence, you know, the fact that he's on a bit of a scoring run with his country, bringing all that back, you know, bringing all that into this game going. And as I said, the fact that we have stood strong against teams like Chelsea, against teams like Brighton, you know, even with you look at the City and Liverpool performances, we were probably a little bit unlucky not to get something out of at least one of those games. So I just think overall, I think the company way of playing will suit us more, and I think we'll win this. As I said, I think we're gonna win it 3-1. So long as
you dirty bro, stealing my prediction. I'm sticking with it. I'm saying 3-1. We're winning this game. I don't care.
I'm taking it, man. We're winning the game. I hope we win the game anyway. But there was a good point there.
There's no hope. Put your chest out, my friend.
We're winning this game. We're winning this game. We're winning this game. But there was a good point made there by Ginger Andy Carroll was saying about Alvarez coming back late from Mexico. This is the other thing from the side of it, from the international side of things, is we've got we had a few players that have gone away that are likely to come and they're going to start as well. And it's how they're going to be, you know. Souček has put a shift in with those couple of games in, you know, Terry Butcher style in the wars and that. And then Alvarez, you know, coming back late. When he came back late last time, he didn't have the best of performance. So, yeah, there's those things to consider as well. So it should be interesting. I'll be interested to see how we line up for the game.
Well, this is an interesting question. Let's just end on this question about Souček and Ward-Prowse in a 3 in CM. I think this is the thing with Souček, and he has been in the goals. But Souček for me has to be the one that's focusing more on the defending side of things than Ward-Prowse. Ward-Prowse should be more advanced than Souček. Souček can obviously make those late runs still, but on the ball, Ward-Prowse is much better and can pass the ball and create more, whereas Souček can break up play very well, can't pass, can't progress the ball, but can give you a late run into the box and maybe a header, or is good at set pieces. So it depends against who we're playing. Games like this, you know, where we are on a bit of a front foot, I'd be against it, but against the top teams, yeah, I think that could be the way to go. I thought Souček was vital when we had to cling on to Chelsea and a lot of them top sides. You know, he's just that engine there, just runs and runs and runs, gives you everything. Like I said, can break up the play. But you know, most games I wouldn't be in favour of it, to be honest.
It's quite funny because I was just gonna say this. You know, where we were talking earlier.
Don't you dare, Scott, because when I said this years ago, you all laughed at me. Don't you dare. Don't you dare, Scott.
Now, this goes back to what we were saying with the if Danny Ings starts, you know, that he's got to be partnered. You could look at playing Souček a more advanced role to win the knockdowns, to play not, you know, just a little deeper than Danny Ings. You know, you get Danny Ings on the shoulder, but you get a Souček to win the ball, win the knockdowns. When you've got players, if fit, like Kudus, Bowen, Benrahma, Paquetá, them sort of players around that as well, you know, sometimes you can revert back to the old-fashioned big man, little man strike partnership. You know, this is a sort of game that it could work. If we've got no Bowen and we've got no Antonio to lead that line, and you're going to have to look at relying on Danny Ings, why not go for it? Give it a try, because there's been many a game where Souček's played in that 10 and played more like a further forward, you know, a deeper striker sort of thing. So you could probably get away with this if you're starting a Danny Ings, but you've got to make sure that them two are closer together. You can't have a Danny Ings sitting up on the shoulder of the centre half and a Souček 10, 15 yards behind him. It doesn't work.
We know he won't play.
Go on, Dan.
No, I was going to say, we know he won't play two up top, but question, who would you rather play as a lone striker, Danny Ings or Thomas Souček in this side?
I would go Souček if I had to choose out of the two for this particular game. I think the thing for me is, with that statement there, in some ways, Moyes has been trying that already, but the last point that Scott made with them being too far apart has basically been the problem. When Souček plays further up, there's pros and cons to it. The benefits, there's obvious benefits which you don't need to say, yeah, but the ones that maybe people forget are the fact that he's less in the mix of needing to have the ball. So having to have the ball at his feet and making simple passes, you know, he can close down from the front, etc., and press and make the late runs and get opportunities that he's been getting this season. So I can see it. You know, it's Fellaini Mark II, isn't it? So I wouldn't be surprised with it. And what it does solve, it solves that conundrum of the midfield as well. If you had him as a false nine or even a nine. Going back to Clayton Bruce's question though, in terms of the three, like, because I've always said I like a fluid 4-3-3 because I think you can then change it up into different systems. But if you were to handpick your middle three, you know, with no limitations, it would be Alvarez, Paquetá, and James Ward-Prowse as a three for me, and then you've got various options you would do. I wouldn't be too mad with having Souček in a three either as well, minus one of those guys as well, because I think he can, if being on the right hand side again, can make those sort of late runs if the ball's coming in from the opposite side, headers and stuff like that. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that.
It's about playing the right players, isn't it? If you think if you're going to have Souček in that three in the midfield arriving late, you've got to have a right-footed right winger, a left-footed left winger. You know, where you're going to throw the balls into the box. Where we play, you know, where the players play on their weaker sides and cut in to have the shots and that type of thing. I think we see it against who do we play? Not the Arsenal game, but the game after when we played that same front three. We got into a lot of positions to be able to cross the ball into the box, but then only had Jared Bowen in there. Yeah. You know, we didn't have no aerial presence. And that's the problem for me, is that it's a lot like when we used to have Andy Carroll. When Carroll weren't on the pitch, we'd throw balls into the box. As soon as he got on the pitch, we'd look to cut inside and stuff like that. And it's, again, not playing to a player's strengths. And that's the thing. If you're going to have a Souček in that sort of that 4-3-3 system, you've got to have a right footer on the right, a left footer on the right, and look to get balls into the box late for him to be arriving at the back post, that type of thing, and then utilising your centre forward. I think if you're not going to, if we're going to insist on this left footer on the right footer on the left, you need a stronger focal point in the middle. You know, and Danny Ings doesn't really fit for me in that type of focal point. You know, the Ings for me doesn't fit in the three. He's got to be in the two. And, you know,
it's a thing about it, Scott, though. It's a waste of energy, because it's never going to happen. So we might as well accept that. I know what you're saying. What you're saying is right. You're not saying anything wrong, but we might as well change what we're saying. Rather than saying Danny Ings should be in a two, is Danny Ings does not fit David Moyes' West Ham and therefore shouldn't play. Because he's not going to play a two, so therefore he just doesn't fit this.
If you're looking at playing a Thomas Souček as the lone striker, you can't then have players out on the wing that are going to cut in and have a shot. Because
no. You've
got to have players that are going to throw the ball into the box, because that's where the strongest aspect of his game.
He'd be more of a target man type of.
Yeah, right. But then you've got to make sure that if you're using him like a target man, you need whoever that most advanced midfielder has got to be up there with him. You can't then have players sitting too deep, because it just doesn't work. You go back to then Haller and Scamacca situation, where you've got these forwards that have got good with the ball to their feet. They're going to want the ball delivered into the box nice and early, because they'll get themselves into a position. And then you're trying to play it to their feet, and you're 15 yards behind the play.
I'll never forget Moyes' first stint when we had Hernandez up top by himself. I think it was Stevenage away or something in the cup, and we was pumping long ball after long ball. And I'm like, we're really using 5'6" Javier Hernandez as a target man. Like, what is going on here? Like, one of the best sort of fox in the box players that you can get pump long ball up to him to do what? It was the most hilarious and frustrating.
And that's why
thing
you've got to give him credit, Dan, because when he done that, this is what I said. He knew how to draw a foul. The amount of free kicks that guy won for us, to try, because he knew he was never holding the ball up, but he got his body in a position where he was going to get fouled to give us a free kick, to give us a break, to get us higher up the pitch. That's the intelligence that player had. And unfortunately, look, he's a top level striker. Always will be. He's like probably one of the best ever foxes in the box. But he knew that I ain't going to hold the ball up, but I know this defender's going to try and come through the back of me, so I'm going to win us a free kick. And that's what he did.
It was hilarious. We used to say, I remember even at the park page, we need a player that's a fox in the box. We need one. We need one badly. And then we end up getting Andre Ayew and Hernandez, who was two of the better ones at it, and it just didn't work out. So that is the West Ham way, as they say. But yeah, like tomorrow, like I said, we'll see what happens. Looking forward to it. It's been a good show. I know it hasn't been as interactive as usual, but we've got some time constraints. But don't worry, we'll be back in the future, and we'll do that. So like I said, don't forget to check out the old bloody Black Friday t-shirts, all of that stuff. Link in the description below. Love a bit of that. Get some West Ham stuff. Kudus. Hopefully he gets another goal tomorrow. It would be lovely. And yeah, the watch along is on tomorrow. Me and Jace will be together. And yes, hopefully we'll be there all watching a big win together, because I'm telling you, oh my God, I've got like a load of I've barely touched a drop of alcohol in months. So there's a load of booze up there that I'm taking in preparation for if we lose, because I'll need it. We're not losing. We're winning. I don't care. I'm putting it out there. You got to manifest. People say manifest. I'm manifesting. Is epic proportions. But lads, it's been a pleasure.
No, it's been good, mate. It's been really good.
Pleasure to have you both on. Yes, so do check out the Hammer It Out podcast as well with Brian and Nikki on the Patreon if you're on it. If not, maybe have a little check out. Always good stuff. And what was the big topic this week, Brian?
Oh, yeah, we covered, obviously, we done the Burnley review. We spoke about Everton stuff as well. I'm trying to remember what else we spoke about. Yeah, there's a few things, man. Check it out. It was a laugh.
West Ham. They spoke about West Ham.
Yeah.
That's the safe bit.
And a few rants in between, so it's all good.
Few rants. Yeah. So brilliant. Steve, no, I wish I had news on Friday Night Pint Live, but listen, you're asking the wrong people here. You want to ask Nikki. Nikki's not here.
It's in the pipeline. That's all we can say.
Oh, it's right to mention
it's in the pipeline. It's stuck there. We need a plumber out. It's between all the sewage in that pipeline. It just means we ain't got a fucking clue. That's what that means.
It's right to mention the marathon.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
Just putting a plug out there. So for those that don't know, I run a charity. I run a family charity, and we support children and young people, basically those who have been impacted and affected by mental health. So we work to improve people's well-being by providing access to activities and different new experiences. And we're non-profits. We're always out trying to raise money. But we've got a really good guy called Tom Brazier who's an IT guy, but he's running a marathon for us tomorrow, just to basically raise some funds. Like he's set a small target of 300 quid, and he's taking his own time just to run in order to raise money for us to run our programs, community programs, which are free. So I'm not one for begging, but you know what, if anyone feels like they would like to donate, make a small contribution for each gesture, that would be wicked. I'm sure Dan will put a link or something in there. I know it's up on X as well, but yeah, any contribution would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description, so you can all check that if you want to make a donation. Like I said, it's for a great cause, so check it out. But other than that, with that said, enjoy your weekends. Like I said, West Ham willing. So
you're not going to ruin our weekend. Don't worry.
No. Confidence, exactly, mate. Exactly. Right, let me get this link. So yes. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a great night. One thing left to say, lads. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.